I have not uploaded in a fat minute, 6 days to be exact from when I'm recording this, but I can only put the blame on my really serious disease called laziness. But yeah, it's time to get back on the grind, so while I'm editing some real videos, I'm gonna rank a bunch of miscellaneous gaming related stuff because I thought it would be fun. And hey, it's my channel, so anything goes. So, there's a very diverse cast of stuff here. Let's see. Greatest video games of all time. Geometry Dash cubes. Controllers. Okay, so we got pretty much good bit of the main controllers. So, let's start out with the most controversial controller, which is the N64 controller. I think it's very weird. I wouldn't say it's terrible. You know, it feels decent in your hands. It's got decent grips, although it's extremely confusing. So yeah, not horrible. Joy-Cons are really bad. For people who like are over the age of like 10, these things just don't work. Just get a Pro Controller. Which reminds me, Pro Controller S tier. There's nothing wrong with this controller. Literally nothing. Every button feels amazing. Which reminds me of this thing. Yep, this is also S tier. I don't care what anyone says. The analogs are incredible. The buttons feel great. The analogs are, once again, awesome. Xbox 360. I think Xbox 360 controller is probably also S tier. It's got a really comfortable shape. This is like the controller us 2000 kids think of when we think of controllers, even though I was a PS3 guy. But yeah, you can probably tell by now I'm not doing this in any type of order, but we're gonna rank the NES controller now because I decided so. So I mean, it's a pretty good controller. The D-pad's actually nice for 1980. You know, people say they don't like the sharp sides on the rectangles. I've used them, and I don't really think they're that bad. Also, these buttons, they're amazing. They just feel so good. What? So yeah, B tier. Wii U gamepad. This is probably gonna be pretty controversial, but I don't care. Wii U gamepad is S tier. This thing is just perfect. You guys know I'm a big fan of the Wii U. This thing is awesome. Okay, this is another pick that might be controversial. This is the Wii Remote. I think this is A tier. It's not perfect. Motion controls, you know, could be better for today's standards, but this was a really crafty controller. You know, the D-pad was fine. The A button was really good, but I mean, it's just one freaking button, so why would anyone care? But yeah, I like this controller. I know it's not comfortable to hold sideways with nothing else. Using a nunchuck is actually really comfortable, so it's underrated controller. I don't know why some people hate it. Maybe it's just because they accidentally throw them at their TV. But okay, so the Dreamcast controller. I have a Dreamcast, but I don't really play it, and by don't really I mean I never played it. I did feel the controller though, and you know it's kind of weird, but I mean it feels good. But just don't take me for an expert. Don't mistake me for an expert on the Dreamcast controller. Just feels good, but it's just kind of weird. I don't know. The Xbox One controller. I think this is a great controller. I don't like how small the analogs are, and also they break really easily. Well, my controllers would break really easily. Alright, the original Xbox controller, this is the original controller. This is probably like, maybe not D tier. I'll put it in C, because never used it, but I just know it's not that great of a controller. The SNES controller. Now, I don't know if I should put this in S tier. I mean, there's really not anything wrong with the controller. It's comfortable. The famous dog bone. I really don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's just like a perfect controller for the SNES. Alright, so let's do some of the Sony controllers and then finish up with the Genesis. Let's just start with the original. I don't really know where to put this. This is comparable to the Snes Controller, except kind of less like worse material, or I don't know how to say it, but I mean, it's a fine controller, I guess. This is pretty much the same thing except with analog, so I'm just gonna put it with it. Ps2 controller. So I mean, it's a fine controller, but mine, like, I know it's from mid 2000s, but it breaks really easily. I'm just gonna put it. It's a fine controller, so I'm just gonna put it B tier. I'm really not gonna have any D tiers, am I? I forgot about this controller. This is another original Xbox controller, but except not a big Bertha. So I mean, it's better to hold than that one. I'm just gonna put it in B tier. I haven't used it. Okay, Ps4 Controller. I like this controller, but the analogs and the buttons kind of hurt if you press them over time, and the build quality isn't that good, but it's still a solid controller. But I do think the Xbox One controller is a little bit better. But they both have some flaws. Okay, this is the Ps3 controller. So I actually really like the Ps3 controller. I like it a little bit more, and you'd probably be surprised considering it's almost the same freaking thing as the PS2 and the PS1. But what I like about this is the buttons feel better. The analogs are not stiff and they feel good still. The D-pad is not great, but I didn't have such high I didn't like this controller that much until I went back and played Little Big Planet on the PS3, and I realized, dang, this is actually a decent controller. Alright, so these are two Genesis controllers. I never really held these, maybe like once or twice. I'm just gonna put them in both the same category. They look comfortable, but also kind of weird. So I'm just gonna put Genesis controllers there. We didn't finish with a single D tier, which questionable. Some people would put this in D. Some people would put this in S. The Joy-Cons. Probably some people are gonna be mad that I put the Joy-Cons so low. It's just what I like to hold, and I can't hold the Joy-Cons without physically dying my hands off, if that makes sense. Well, there are two controllers that aren't on this that should be, which is the PS5 controller, which I'd probably put in S, and the Series X controller, which I'd probably put in A, because it's not that different from the One controller. What I like about the PS5 controller is the analogs are just really smooth, and it's a really bulky controller, which for some people that's not good, but I just think it's a really good controller. So yeah, that wraps up for this one. We took way too long on this, so let's go ahead and do another one. I want to look for a Zelda games tier list. Let's see what this one is. So this is a Mario games tier list I found, but why is Yoshi's New Island in here and a bunch of spin-offs? Yeah, this isn't really the greatest tier list. I guess I'll rank a couple games in here. Mario Galaxy, S tier. Best Mario game ever made, no question. Mario Galaxy 2, best Mario game of all time. Mario 3 World, B tier. It's a solid Mario game, but it's just not as good as Mario Galaxy. It's just not as good. Disregarding whatever that was. New Super Mario Bros. I'll put this in A tier. This is a great 2D Mario game. a very underrated one. That's what I'm trying to say. Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. This is more like a spin-off, but yeah, this is S tier. This is the best Mario and Luigi game ever made. Mini voice crack. What else? Paper Mario Sticker Star. This game's really bad. Really bad. But I don't think any Mario game deserves the E tier. Super Mario All-Stars, this is A tier. Remasters. 4 of the, original Mario games. I guess 4, if you count Lost Levels. But yeah, A tier is a good spot for it. And I'm not really gonna rank any of these other ones. I guess I'll rank Mario Bros. 3 A tier. Really, really good. Anything else? Super Mario Odyssey. I'll put an S tier, but it's not as good as these two. These two are just so good, dude. They're just really good. Mario 64. This is also S tier, but just like I said, just nothing compares to these two games. Oh my gosh. Alright, we're gonna stop right there on this tier list before it gets too freaking weird. Video game consoles. This would be fun. Gotta change that. Oh dang, there's a lot of consoles in this. Alright, let's start with one of the first ever video game consoles. If not the first, the Magnavox Odyssey. I'm not actually putting it as just horrible. I'm gonna change this to never played, because I'm 15 years old. You expect me to play this? This is like from the freaking 70s. Alright, this is one of the first really bad ones on here. This is the 3DO. Really bad, flopped horribly, made fun of the Super Nintendo and Genesis. Had like 1 or 2 good games, and that's basically it. Alright, I'm gonna clean out some of these with some of the ones that I never have played and just don't have an opinion on. Like 3DO I've never played, obviously, but I know a little bit about it, that it's definitely D tier. So let's just get a little bit of these out. Sega 32X accessory for Genesis. I don't even really know what this did, to be honest. Sega CD, is this not the same thing? Maybe I'm just stupid, but Sega Saturn, don't know much about. Sega Game Gear, definitely more powerful than the Game Boy, but I know nothing. Same as the Tiger Electronics. PSP, I guess I'll put in like B tier. I'll put both these in B tier just because I know that they're pretty powerful for the time. They're way more powerful than the 3DS. Wasn't it like 720p or something? I don't know. I could be wrong, but I have actually never owned a PlayStation Portable, but I know that they're pretty decent. Atari 2600. I'm gonna put this in B tier too, because it's a piece of crap in one way, but in another way, it basically started gaming as like a phenomenon. Just don't play it today. Philips CDI. I know enough about this to know that this is just not good. Not even the Zelda games on this were good. That's how you know how bad it was. I think all of these I can talk about, but I better hurry. I'll start with the DS. The DS is S tier. The DS is just amazing. It deserves that number 2 spot on the best-selling consoles, even though it's technically handheld. I guess you could say it's not truly the second best, because like most of us owned multiple DSs. I know I owned multiple. I think I did. I think I owned a DS Lite and a DSi at one point. Yeah, it might not technically be, the second best, because most of us own multiple, but it deserves to be up there. PlayStation 2, I like a lot of the games on it. It's the best-selling console of all time, but I don't have that big of a connection to it. Nintendo 64, this would be B tier, but Ocarina of Time is on here, and also Majora's Mask, so we're gonna give it an A tier. Xbox One. I mean, it's not really. It's more like Xbox lost by like 50 million or something. Talking about sales. Still a good console though. Actually, I'll put it in B. There you go, Microsoft fans. Original PlayStation. This was way more powerful than anything else at the time. I guess I'll put it in B tier though, because like I don't care too much about it, and I'm not a PlayStation 1 expert. Nintendo Wii U. Oh boy, here comes the comments. I'm putting in S tier. Don't fight me! Alright, in all seriousness, I'm going to put in A tier. This is not based off how successful it was. It was a major flop. Everyone knows. I don't need to tell you that. I just think a lot of the games were really good despite being ported to the 3DS and Switch. I think the controllers were great for the most part. I love how you can use the Wii Remotes. I love the backwards compatibility, and the virtual console games were awesome. I love being able to spend $10 on Majora's Mask instead of pay like $60 for the original and then have to pay another $50 for the expansion pack for the extra RAM just to be able to play it. And now I can play it on the Wii U for $10 because that's just how good the virtual console lineup was. Alright, PlayStation 5. Now, I don't know too much about this except for it being extremely powerful, 4K, all these good games, Elden Ring, and actually, where's the first party support for this thing so far? I mean, I don't own one because, Ps4 for the win, but like, it's at its ceiling. It's got a very high ceiling, and it's gonna be, well, it already is a pretty amazing console. But it's not S tier. Xbox 360. This is the original model, so I'm going to treat it as one. It's okay. I mean, Red Ring of Death. That's all I got to say. Although, was pretty cheap. Cheap in a good way. And had a lot of good games. A lot of them. Xbox Series X. Don't know a lot about it. I'm probably just going to judge it the same way I will judge the PS5. So I don't have either of these consoles. I have the two predecessors. But yeah. Game Boy. I'm not judging this off of the Game Boy's power. I'm putting this in A tier. Had a lot of fantastic games despite the barf green screen. It was not very expensive. I mean, guess wasn't it like $60 or at $60 at like one point, but had a lot of great games. That's the reason it's here. 3DS, while it didn't sell as well as Nintendo probably wanted it to, that's probably because it was in the Wii U era, and it didn't look as different. It didn't look that different from the DS, but people who really bought one just love this thing. Most people who have a DS love it, including me, and that's why it's S tier. I don't know if you can tell if my voice is tired or not, but we're going to keep going. Dreamcast. I never played it, just like I said, so, I could speak on it a little bit, maybe, but I'm just not going to, because, yeah, I would not be able to speak on it. Alright, Nintendo Gamecube. I'm putting this in A tier, because there were just a lot of fantastic Nintendo Gamecube games. The controller's amazing, like I already demonstrated. This is a console that I really love, but it's not perfect. Mini discs kind of held it back a little bit. The original Nintendo Entertainment System. I think you gotta put in A tier. If the Atari was like the jump start to the gaming industry, this was what accelerated it to be the top entertainment industry in the world. This thing, I know it's aged not great, but it's a fantastic console with many fantastic classic games. And here is the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This thing one of the best consoles of all time. Didn't sell as well as the NES, but it had just amazing games. Literally like top 20 games in existence. Like, we're talking like Super Mario World, A Link to the Past, Street Fighter 2. Just had so many fantastic games on this console, and it is truly one of the best consoles ever made. Nintendo Wii. Now, I have a soft spot for this because, you know, I was born in 2006. Of course I did. But yeah, I got a lot to say about the Wii, but I can't say, you know, everything. I love the Wii Remote. I love Wii Sports. I love Super Mario Bros. Wii, even though that's a controversial title because a lot of people think it's generic. But yeah, just a lot of games on here. Mario Kart Wii. Just there's a lot of quality games on here, and I know it was at the time it was extremely underpowered, just like the Switch right now. I still love this thing. Sega Genesis, not really qualified to speak on this. The only thing I know is that it does what Nintendo don't, but that's probably not a good thing because you probably want to do what Nintendo does. I'll put it in B tier because it did sell pretty well, even compared to Super Nintendo. It's just not better than the Super Nintendo's the only thing. It's just not better. Game Boy Advance. This thing is really, really good. Specifically the SP models, and this is the original model, so, you know, maybe the original model go into A tier because of the horrible screen, but there's just a lot of amazing games on here. A lot of amazing ports, like how they ported, like, all the Mario games, basically, up to that point. They ported it on here. They ported A Link to the Past. A bunch of other Zelda games, the 2 NES titles they ported. And that's just Mario and Zelda. There's a ton of other incredible games on here. Not to mention the 2 best-selling games on the system, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, amazing games, and Pokemon Emerald, which is even better. This was just a really, really good, underrated video game console. PS3. I like the PS3 despite its problems. Had a slow start in the industry. Eventually came around and beat 360. It was awesome. I mean, the PS3, I don't play a lot on it, but I mean, where would I be without Little Big Planet? Just where would I be? The original Xbox, another one I'm not qualified to speak on it. All I know on here is Halo and Call of Duty and Battle for Bikini Bottom. That's really only major games I know on the original Xbox. So yeah, PlayStation 4. I love the PlayStation 4. Way better than the Xbox One. Don't hate me. I'm not a Sony pony. I just like the console more. Okay. Game Boy Color. Not the most impactful console, but I mean, it can do everything a Game Boy can do as far as I know, except in color, and it even transports some of the original Game Boy games to have color, which is really awesome. So I mean, this is B tier is a fine enough spot for it. Nintendo Switch, the underpowered underdog. This thing has some of the greatest games I've ever played in my life, and for a nostalgic nerd like me, that's saying a lot because most of my favorite games are not, like, most of them are, like, older than me, but this thing has some fantastic games, including Breath of the Wild, like, the top 5 game of all time right there. Mario Odyssey, which I previously stated was not better than the Galaxy games because they're the best Mario games, but this thing just has some amazing games. Also, Mario Party Superstars, that game is just an awesome Mario Party game. Oh, we're finally done this tier list. You know, it's, looks okay. This is, I don't think I would change anything here. But also, I'm a pretty freaking stupid person. So, just don't take my word for it. Just buy all these consoles and then see how you like them. Don't take that advice either, because you're going to go bankrupt. But, yeah, that's, basically it. Oh, wait. I gotta do one more thing. Okay, so real quick, I need to just rank the best games of all time. Let's get rid of a bunch of these. We don't need any of these rows. These rows are just Just completely uncalled for. We only need 2 rows. Alright, now that we got our tiers set up, let's go ahead and rank the best games of all time. Let's see. I think we should start with... Where is it? I'm trying to find it. Here it is. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Best video game in existence. Don't need to tell you that. It will never not be the best game. Okay, so we got that ranked, so let's finish with the rest.